Just a few steps from a front door, he was found face down in the snow, near the flagpole in the front yard of a man he had been photographed with just 6 days before. The record contains no account of anyone inside that house reporting they saw him arrive. I am a security camera. I recorded a man and a woman leaving the bar together at 12:11 in the morning. She said she dropped him off outside the house on Fairview Road. She said she watched him walk to the front door. I have no record of a door opening. 12 cameras, several angles, one blind spot. After that, people began telling different versions of the same night.
Subscribe, like, and turn on notifications.
10:54 in the evening. A couple walks into the Waterfall Bar and Grill in Canton, Massachusetts. The man holds the door. The woman walks through without looking back at him. I have recorded them together at this location before. The pattern was always the same. What changed was everything after. The couple gradually joins a table where several other people are already gathered. At some point before midnight, the man in the couple checks his phone. Then he checks it again. The woman beside him never checks hers. Based on what I observed, the most likely reading of the night is this: a couple out with a group on a Saturday. He checked his phone. She did not need to. Couples carry tension that way. Whole arguments compressed into a single glance across a table. I have recorded versions of that scene before. At 12:11, the two of them leave together. They were not headed to the same destination. That is the last time I have a clear record of both of them in the same frame. 12:24. John O'Keefe's phone closes a navigation application. The record shows his device stopped moving at a point in front of 34 Fairview Road. From that point onward, his phone logs no movement. Outside, the temperature had dropped below freezing. Snow had been falling for hours. Before 5 in the morning, a search begins for John O'Keefe. It begins because his girlfriend, Karen Reed, calls. No one from that house reported him missing. Other people at the bar later described tension between them. Small things. After his body was found in the snow, those details became the first explanation. A couple fighting after a night of drinking. A woman dropping him off, angry outside the house. A vehicle reversing in the dark. The prosecution argued, as presented in court testimony, that vehicle data showed Karen Reed's vehicle accelerating in reverse at up to 24 miles per hour before an abrupt stop somewhere in that neighborhood. For a while, the evidence appeared to point toward Karen Reed. I did not record the vehicle at that location. I only recorded the moment he disappeared from my frame. Jennifer McCabe was at the Waterfall Bar that night. She sat with the couple that night. Before they left the bar, she invited John O'Keefe to come to 34 Fairview Road. The invitation was for John O'Keefe. Karen Reed was not expected to come inside. Over the next several minutes, Jennifer kept trying to reach him. Calls, messages, more calls. Everything pointed in the same direction. John O'Keefe was being asked to come to the house. After 12:29, the record goes quiet. The next clear moment does not arrive until 6 in the morning. Now consider the second interpretation. Jennifer is not a stranger to the house on Fairview Road. Her sister lives there. Calls, messages, more calls. Then silence. One reading of this sequence is that she was helping a friend find the party. But pull back further. The record shows she was the last person to reach him before the silence. She was among the 3 who found him in the snow outside the house in the early morning hours. What the record does not show is what happened between 12:29 and 6 in the morning. On February 2nd, 4 days after he was found, investigators later focused on the vehicle she drove that night. Footage from a camera at the Canton Police Department Sallyport, just minutes from 34 Fairview Road, was reviewed. The footage showed her vehicle. The taillight appeared intact. This was footage taken after midnight on January 29th. In the same case file, investigators documented taillight fragments collected from the front yard of 34 Fairview Road. A camera record. Taillight fragments recovered from the yard. One vehicle. The images do not agree. One record shows the taillight whole. Another record shows the taillight in pieces on the ground where he was found. I have no record of anyone explaining the difference. The fragments from the yard were collected using red plastic cups and a grocery bag from a local store. Return to the people who sat with the couple that night. Jennifer McCabe. Her sister's home is the house at 34 Fairview Road. She gave directions. She called. She texted. She was among the group that found him in the snow. At 2:27 in the morning, her phone records show a search was associated with that device. The search was for how long someone survives in the cold. This is where the story becomes more difficult to explain. Jennifer McCabe later said Karen Reed asked her to make that search after John O'Keefe was found, but the record attached to that search appears to place it at 2:27 in the morning. John O'Keefe would not be found until approximately 6. That leaves a gap of nearly 3.5 hours. The prosecution argued the timestamp reflects when Jennifer McCabe made the search. The defense argued the timestamp reflects when a browser tab was opened, not when the search was entered. Jennifer McCabe has consistently said the search was made only after John O'Keefe was found. If the timestamp was correct, her account was not. 2:27. That search. Years later, experts were still arguing over the same record. Either the record was wrong, or she was. After January 2022, the owner of 34 Fairview Road sold the house. Attention later turned to injuries on his arms. The injuries on his arms were described by one medical expert in testimony as consistent with dog bites and claw marks. The state's medical examiner testified that the injuries on his arms were not clearly consistent with any single cause. Prosecution witnesses testified that no dog DNA was recovered from swabs taken near the wounds. Prosecution witnesses testified that DNA consistent with his profile was found on the taillight. Then another possibility appears. He never went inside the house. He was struck outside and left in the snow. The taillight pieces in the yard. The DNA on the car. That is the prosecution's account as presented at trial. For years, investigators tried to prove that account. They examined Karen Reed's vehicle. They looked for another driver. They examined the people who were there that night. Yet no piece of evidence ever answered every question. The case against Karen Reed remained. The certainty did not. Questions about the evidence eventually became questions about the investigation itself. Many of the conflicting records in the case passed through the same investigator. The lead investigator was Massachusetts State Police Trooper Michael Proctor. During the trial, private messages sent by lead investigator Michael Proctor were read aloud in court. In those messages, he mocked Karen Reed and used language described in testimony as deeply unprofessional. He sent those messages while he was overseeing the evidence in this case. The question was no longer only what the investigation showed. It was whether the investigation itself could be trusted. Every record collected during that investigation came under scrutiny. The prosecution and the defense pointed to the same records and reached completely different conclusions. Michael Proctor was later fired from the Massachusetts State Police. I have no record of anyone fully explaining why so many parts of the night still conflict with each other. On June 18, 2025, Karen Reed was found not guilty on the murder-related charges. Jennifer McCabe was never charged. No one inside the house was charged. I can record a parking lot, a doorway, snow collecting on the road before sunrise, but I cannot see through the one blind spot every version of the story disappears into. Something happened after he disappeared from the frame. The records still cannot agree on what it was. Who else saw him after the cameras lost him? Don't miss out on the next content. Subscribe, like, and turn on notifications.